everyone, this is Kasumi and Sarah, and welcome back to our podcast, What's New in the News on Tuesday afternoon.
This week's topic will be copycat crimes and the media. So the copycat effect is usually when violence or murders or suicide happens, they're broadcasted to the public, and sometimes this may result in an imitation effect. It's basically a criminal act that is modelled or inspired on a previous crime. So we're going to discuss copycat crimes and how the media plays a role in it.
So I feel like this week's topic is very much a reflection of what we've seen in the media lately with the strawberry farmers.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of news coming around about needles being found in strawberries, which is just awful. But then afterwards, it came out that there had been some copycat crimes, and this had even extended over to New Zealand, I believe.
Yeah, it did, yep. And it moved in other states in Australia too, and it even at one stage moved to bananas. So I think those factors indicate that it wasn't the same person, that other people saw this on the news and got ideas and thought, oh, I might continue this.
It becomes kind of iffy because it's sort of like a balance of whether or not it's good to report on these kinds of things, because of course it is good to report on these things, so that
especially
everybody,
in this case,
so that everybody is aware that there are these needles in these products, and it's a good way to get it across to a wide audience. But at the same time, you do have people out there who are willing to go the lengths and think it's appropriate to copy these crimes.
Yeah, I definitely see what you meant, because of course, the needles in strawberries, you 100% had to publish that. You can just keep it low in the case of copycat fears, because that would have led to personal injury. But at the same time, I guess there's other similar topics that you probably shouldn't publish as a news outlet, because it can lead to copycat crimes.
So what do you think about, like, just generally murders and things like mass shootings, especially over in the States?
I think when shootings occur, it is quite a big deal. And of course it's a big deal. You have to let people know what's happened, like you need to spread the news, but at the same time, has it been sensationalized?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, all you have to do is have a look at, the statements from some of the kids who have done these mass shootings. I mean, a lot of them say that they were inspired by the Columbine shooting, which is really something kind of scary, because obviously they've read media reports about these shootings and they've gotten their ideas from that. Not to say that they wouldn't have committed the shooting without it, but they definitely are inspired by it.
Yeah. At the same time, something to consider is some people already have those tendencies, and it just takes a small trigger to set them off. Because I remember when I was younger, there was, well, obviously you have the movie Twilight and Dexter, the TV series about the murderer. I haven't exactly seen Dexter myself, but I remember reading a magazine article where a young boy murdered his brother because he said he felt like Dexter. And then you have Twilight. Apparently in America, these two girls followed another girl into an alley and bit her and tried to suck her blood because they said they felt like vampires, and that resulted in the death of the girl. You can't exactly blame, we can't blame the media for all these things, because sometimes it is a trigger, but sometimes we do need to be careful about what we publish.
100%. So I think that kind of takes us into also the other idea of suicide and whether or not it should be published. And I think that's a really tough question to answer, because I think it's important to talk about these issues.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's important for other people to be aware that these issues exist.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is this idea of sensationalizing suicide and whether or not that causes more damage.
Yeah, I think a perfect example of that is the television series 13 Reasons Why. It was about a young girl who committed suicide while she was in high school, fictional, and she listed 13 reasons, which were her peers in high school, as to why she killed herself. And that television series got so much attention around the world. It got banned in some high schools. And because it got banned and because it got so much attention, so many people were watching it because they wanted to know why. And yeah, it did get really sensationalized, but at the same time, these topics do need to be addressed and they shouldn't be avoided either, because we do need to talk about things like this.
You're exactly right. I think, even though it was a TV show, the more it got spoken about in the media, the more people went and watched this show.
Yeah.
And the more people who watched this show, the more these ideas came up. And I don't know whether there was any direct, ramifications that came from this, but you never know. Like, kids might have gotten ideas from this show, and that, I don't know, it's just not a good thing, is it?
Yeah, and speaking of ideas, you have television shows like Current Affair or like certain news programs that talk about scams, and they actually tell you how these scams work, and it's sort of like an instructional news video, like...
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I think, that's the other side, like talking about something a little bit less serious than mass shootings and suicide. When we talk about scams, it's all over the news. Like, I remember reading an article just the other week about 7 ways that people are scamming you and can scam you from your money. Isn't that just literally handing it to criminals on how to scam these people?
They might as well named it 7 ways to scam, but I do understand like what the writer would have been doing. Like he would have been trying to protect these people from being scammed, but at the same time it's telling you, here's way to scam other people.
Yeah, there's a bit of a fine line, isn't there, on reporting the news and getting these important issues out there, and then giving people the idea on how to commit these types of crimes.
Yeah, so ways that copycat crimes may be avoided might be just using non-sensationalist language when it comes to media reports on news crimes, and of course not reporting exactly how the crime is committed. I mean, yes, some people do want to know details, but at the same time there should be a limit. It is a fine line between informing the audience, addressing issues, and also being careful about what we write.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So I think that about wraps it up for this week. If you've got any thoughts on the issue, feel free to send us a text. So our number is 1300 6748. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic.
And thanks for listening to What's New in the News.